Am I the asshole for embarrassing him and ruining dinner at his family's house? I will get right to the chase. 24 female and I'm a germaphobe. I've been seeing Will for 8 months and we were just invited to his parents' house for a family dinner. This was my first time meeting them. When we got there, dinner was still being prepped by the mom and 2 sisters, in their 30s. All throughout dinner all 3 of them were taking food from the counter, reaching down and feeding the dogs out of their hands and were continuing to use their bare hands to prep the food without washing the obvious dog slobber from their palms and fingers. This continued all throughout them prepping the food. Even to a point where them feeding their dog the cut-up veggies that they put out with dipping sauce and continuing to cut up more veggies with again, not washing their hands. So you could physically see slobber on a lot of the finger foods placed out. I took Will aside and told him I wasn't eating any of that food and explained why. He told me not to make a big deal out of it and that cooking the food would basically burn off the bacteria. I told him in response that I truly don't care and that I would not be touching the food and said I wanted to leave. I never asked him to bring me home, he brought me in his car. I called a friend for a ride. Now these people knew how I was with germs already because it got brought up in conversation, so it shouldn't have been any surprise in my opinion. Now on to how I could be in awe. My friend was 20 minutes away and while I was waiting for her to arrive, Will's mom tried handing me a deviled egg with her bare, dog slobber fingers. I politely declined and she continued to push, stating that I would love it and that everyone brags about her deviled eggs. Will is standing beside me and says, "Just take the egg." After like 5 minutes of them not letting up, I stated, "You do realize that there is dog slobber all over this food, right?" Will's mom immediately became passive and walks off and Will says, "Wow. Can't keep your thoughts to yourself to save face with my parents makes you insanely fucking childish." I just walk outside and wait for my friend because it was awkward after that and then leave. I'm being told I embarrassed the fuck out of Will and ruined dinner because apparently his mom was super quiet after that and barely spoke to anybody. He said I should have just kept my mouth shut. Which I would have if they were trying to shove food down my face after I had already said no repeatedly. Am I the asshole? Nope. Not the asshole. I can get downvoted to HLL and back but in my opinion that is disgusting. Not the asshole. No, thank you should only be required once. Regardless of your reasons for not eating, it really is that simple. The refusal should have been respected, and Will's mother and he are both here. I have a dog. I never feed her during prep, only after. I wash my hands every time I touch her during prep, if she wants a pet or something. And I'm not a germaphobe at all. It's basic hygiene. She offered, you said no, she pushed, you countered. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. And disgusting food aside, they refused to take no for an answer. Repeatedly. Which is bad enough for one person doing it, but then your boyfriend ganged up on you and both of them continued to try to force you to take something you didn't want. No is a complete sentence no matter how many times the same question is asked. I'm not a germaphobe, but wow. Not the asshole. They wouldn't take no for an answer. You didn't expect them to drive you home. You called a ride. You tried to be tactful and said no. You told the boyfriend why you wouldn't eat the food and he tried to force you to. If she's embarrassed about the dog slobber comment, clearly she knows that you aren't supposed to do that. Also, just dump the guy, if he hasn't dumped you yet. He'd rather placate his mom than respect boundaries or your no. Not the asshole, people should respect boundaries. You'd already declined and they continued to push. Not to mention feeding the dogs while cooking and not washing your hands is nasty, period. As your man, that guy shouldn't have allowed them to make you feel so uncomfortable. SMH, I'm sorry you had to experience that. Not the asshole. People can be kind of lax when it comes to food prep in their home kitchens, but some things are still a bit too far. Additionally, his mother reacting so strongly to a simple comment is a bit dramatic in my opinion. Also, Will sounds like he's kind of in awe. Instead of respecting your decision, he sat there and pressured you into doing something you didn't want to just to keep his family happy. He should have supported you, or at the very least distracted his mother. Not the asshole. This is one of the reasons people who work in restaurants have to take food safety courses. Am I the asshole for exposing my stepmom for stealing? The past couple weeks I, 17M, have noticed that my allowance has been going missing from my room, around $40 in total, so I decided to leave my phone recording in a hidden spot in my room while I'm at school, and I was shocked to see it's my stepmom since we've had an okay relationship since we've met each other. I showed footage to my dad and he just shrugged it off and said he'll replace the money, so I sent it to my mom and my grandparents on my dad's side, and they came to our house last night and there was a huge argument with them and my dad and stepmom. Her reasoning for the stealing was that her kids don't get any allowance from their father and I needed to learn how to share. I'm currently at my mom's house and now my dad isn't speaking to me and my grandparents aren't speaking to him. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, your stepmom is a thief. It's a bit rich saying you need to learn how to share while stealing from you. Your father is an asshole for allowing this to happen. Not the asshole. Your dad would rather let his wife steal from his child than upset her. That is extremely problematic. Wow, toxic. Not the asshole. Stay at your mom's. If your stepmom really wanted you to learn to share, she would have spoken about it to you openly. But she snuck into your room and stole from you, and is now trying to hide behind her kids since she got caught. Stay away, hun. Oh no, hun, not the asshole. Call her out every time. This is so wrong. You did the right thing. Stealing is stealing and your dad is also the asshole for not protecting you better. Not the asshole. She stole from you. If your dad wasn't willing to have your back on this, then you have a right to find an adult who will. I don't buy her story of teaching you to share, because typically when you're teaching someone they are aware of the lesson. If she wanted her kids to have an allowance, then she should be the one paying it, not stealing your money. Not the asshole. That's a huge breach of your rights. If she's willing to steal that, what else would she do given her right circumstances? And given the fact your dad wasn't willing to confront her for such a breach of trust, it was totally right of your mom to kick up a fuss. Your stepmom's former partner failing to provide for their kids does not give her the right to steal from you. There is a legal process for her to hold him responsible for his obligations, and she should have done that like a responsible adult. Or, giving out of her own damn pocket. You do not need to share what is yours unless you chose to do so. That's as awful parenting. I'm glad your mom and grandparents kicked up about it because it's a huge overstep. OMG, no, you are not the asshole. What TF is wrong with her? She's taking your allowance and giving to her children? Your dad needs a wake-up call. His wife is not a good person. Not the asshole. You dad is not protecting you. It is his job. Am I the asshole for helping my son move out against my wife's wishes? I, 50M, have a son with schizophrenia, 18M. He was diagnosed when he was 14 and had to spend a month in a mental hospital because of delusions. But he was put on meds and is going to a therapist. He hasn't had any delusions for a few years now and has only had mild hallucinations since being put on meds, which he can easily tell it fake. My wife, 48F, went completely mom crazy after my son was diagnosed. She wouldn't let him see friends, compete in after-school activities, or go out. The only way to make her stop was when I threatened with divorce. She has no college degree and is a SOM with zero work experience, so she would be living on alimony alone. He graduated high school early, skipped a grade, and starts college this fall and is going out of state. He already has a new therapist lined up, as well as an apartment and job. He wanted to move out as soon as possible. I don't blame him, and told me and my wife about his plans moving out. When my wife heard about this, she went batshit. Started screaming and crying about how he wasn't mentally stable and needed to stay home because he couldn't take care of himself. This hurt my son a lot since he has come such a long way with his condition. When he tried packing up his stuff, my wife kept unpacking it, even breaking his laptop in a fit of rage when he told her off. I called his therapist asking if he was mentally stable enough to move out, to which she responded, "Of course he is. Why are you even asking me this?" Well, my wife was out of town all last weekend to visit her sister. When she went away, me and my son along with my sister took the opportunity to pack all of his things into a moving truck and send him off. When my wife got back and asked where he was, I told her he moved out and no longer lived here. She blew her lid. Her sister and her side of the family are calling me the asshole for going behind her back. So am I the asshole? Edit. I forgot. Not the asshole. Edit 2. Ah geez, I've never been top comment before. Thanks y'all, and just another gentle word of encouragement for op. Hi op. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia at the age of 16. My parents were far from supportive. I would have loved this support you're showing your son. Babying and infantilizing does not help and can cause severe depressive episodes, lashing out. While I can understand your wife's fears surrounding a controversial diagnosis, I think she needs to remember that even the mentally ill can have their own wishes and their own voice. Especially as adults. I moved out at 18, and I'm now married, stabilized on meds, and doing well. You're doing the right thing. Not the asshole. Your wife needs therapy. I would also not give her your son's address until she seeks help. Not the asshole. And good for you for standing up for your son. Your wife needs serious help because this is beyond helicopter parenting. I would also have a serious talk with your kids about how their mother's behavior is affecting them and if they feel safe. Not the asshole. Is your wife in therapy as well? Because she needs to be. Your son has every right to move out and move on with the next stage in his life, and his mom is only hurting him by trying to control him and keep him at home. Not the asshole. Your wife needs therapy. It sounds like your son might not be the only one with a mental illness. Not the asshole. I think your wife needs therapy. Rejecting reality and substituting her own. Deciding your son can't fend for himself when the therapist says he can, and breaking something in a fit of rage sound like signs of serious problems. Not the asshole. Absolutely. Your wife is very controlling and probably has a bigger mental issue about being someone's savior, in this case taking care of your disabled child. She broke his laptop because she's mad that her son is becoming independent, not because she's scared that he won't be able to live alone. In reality, it has nothing to do with his condition, as you said he's gotten better. Not the asshole. Your son is an adult and he has the right to live independently. I wonder if your wife would benefit from a mental health assessment too? Did she only start the helicopter parenting after your son's diagnosis? Am I the asshole for treating my husband the same way he treated me when I was in the hospital? The asshole. My husband recently had a kidney stone and 2 trips the ER. I have had health problems myself and have spent many times in the ER and have been hospitalized too. When I had to go to the ER because I was really sick, throwing up, severe abdominal pain. My husband said I probably just had a stomach bug. He was upset cause he had to get up early in the morning for work. So my father-in-law came to the hospital so I could get a ride home. Before my husband left, the ER doctor came in and said I needed immediate surgery. Turns out I had a bad obstruction. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. During that time my husband barely came to see me. I asked if he could bring me some soup from the Thai restaurant across the street. Because the food at the hospital was really bad. He said no. When he would visit he would grab the remote and watch one of his news shows. He would also lower the temp in the room to his liking. He could have taken off from work but he didn't. My father-in-law came to visit almost every day. So when he had a medical issue I decided that he should be treated the same way he treated me. I went and visited, changed the channel on the TV, played on my phone etc. Unfortunately only the nurse could adjust the temp in the room. But I did bring him underwear and socks. He wanted me to bring him food, I said no. He wanted to go to a restaurant on the way home, I said no. Soon as we got home, I changed clothes and then went out with my girlfriends for delayed birthday outing. I spent my birthday with him at the ER. He complained that I was leaving him to go out. But now apparently I'm selfish for treating him this way. During his time in the hospital not once did I complain to him. I work 2 jobs and I also take classes at the local university. I was able to take off work with no problem and was able to get an extension on my assignments that were due. So am I the asshole for, pardon the pun, giving him a taste of his own medicine? Update. I confronted him, he apologized. He said he thinks it's weird that people come visit others in the hospital. I personally think it may have something to do with his mother. Other times he has gone to the hospital was because a relative was dying, and the family was called in. I was wrong to treat him this way. When he got sick, I made him go to the ER. I stayed there the entire time, didn't complain that I had to go to work. I helped set him up once we were back at home and moved my work meeting to virtual instead of in person. I did the same with my clients. I also apologized for being an asshole but also admitted that I was still angry. Not the asshole. Now, I know people are gonna be like, OMG. Wah. You both are awful people and this is gross. But honestly? I loathe it when partners downsize the other's pain. But once it comes to them being in pain, sick, they expect their significant other, who they neglect, to take care of them with the utmost care. Some people need to be treated like this so they can get a hint and change. They either realize their TTY ways, or you pack up and leave because they choose to stay the same. We don't know why Appa's with their partner or how much they love each other. Regardless, I think Appa's valid right now. Woman shrugging light skin tone. Info. Why are you still in this marriage? Would I have done the same thing? Yes, when I was younger. Him for obvious reasons. Well, this all took so much energy. If you don't like each other, it's time to move on. If I've learned one thing from the pandemic is that toxic drama is just not worth it. No, I personally don't think so at all. But the question is, did he learn anything? If not, you may want to reassess your marriage. Your husband sounds like an insensitive cad that doesn't give a fuck about your feelings or welfare. Toxic on top of toxic doesn't fix anything. It's like you're on a crash course waiting for the impact. Not fun. Consider getting the hell out of that marriage and not settling for anything less than a man that will love, respect, and take care of you. In sickness and in health is only a small part of wedding vows. I'm sure you want a partner that will honor all of it. Not the asshole. Did he deserve it? Absolutely yes. Was this a healthy and productive way to go about it? Probably not. Did you talk to your husband about the way he treated you in the hospital, i.e. how horrific and disgusting it was? Like it was good revenge. But if you want this relationship to improve, which maybe you don't, if you're done with him that's perfectly reasonable, this isn't going to help. Sounds like y'all might need couples counseling if you want to stay together. Why are you married if you hate each other? Wow, he just told me thank you for taking care of him. I told him he was welcome. Everyone sucks here for being mean and petty to each other. Why are you married to someone you don't even like?